I'm Jeannie Kitchens with SIU Center for Workforce Development. And along with me for this webinar are some of the DCO Office of Employment and Training staff. So we have Deb Pellegrini on with us as well. We have Gary Eichen and we have Lorraine Wareham with us. And they're available to answer any questions you might have about incumbent worker grants. They know all the ins and outs of the grants. And I'm going to focus on how to use the incumbent worker tracking system. If you haven't already, please answer the polling questions in the middle of the screen. And I'm going to close those polls. I want to go ahead and move them out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and end them. Just give me a moment to do that. And let me go ahead and get them out of the way here. Give me a moment to do that. And what I want to do is begin the presentation by going through a few PowerPoint slides. Now, for those of you who have joined our webinars in the past, you're probably used to, in the very bottom left-hand corner of your screen, having a bunch of files that you can download. And we do have this PowerPoint that you should see now on your screen, as well as many other instructional materials or reference materials about the incumbent worker tracking system that you can use. And they're available from a web page that I'm going to show you. So below me in the bottom left-hand corner, there's links to the page where you get this information. You don't need any of it for the webinar today, so I would just encourage you to wait till after the webinar, then you can go visit the page and get whatever you want from the web page. At any time as we're going through the webinar, if the DCO staff would like to add anything to what I'm saying, they'll just go ahead and speak up, and they'll also answer questions. So go ahead and type your questions in the chat as you have them, and we'll make sure that they get answered during the webinar today. So with that, let me go ahead and begin. I'm going to cover just a few slides in this PowerPoint, and then we're going to go to the system and demo it. I think it's a lot easier for everyone to actually see it, the actual system, instead of just watching a PowerPoint. So we'll move fairly quickly through the PowerPoint and the demo because we only have an hour. So we're going to cover the background. We're going to talk about accessing the IWTF's online guide and tools. And we're going to look at navigating those tools, including the first step, which is submitting your incumbent worker training plan. The second step, which is adding employees to it who are receiving the training. The third step, which is taking those employees who are receiving the training and registering in the course or multiple courses that they'll be taking that are funded by the grant. And then finally, submitting reports throughout the life of the project through the end date. So just a little brief history. The Incumbent Worker Tracking System started back in 2009 with the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. That act actually provided grant money for quite a few projects in Illinois for incumbent worker training. And there's a policy letter, and we have a link to that policy letter on the Incumbent Worker Guide. So if you're not familiar with the policy, it's available for you to read if you want to know about all of the specific state requirements. And then finally, the Incumbent Worker Tracking System is how all of the incumbent worker training projects that are funded through DCEO, Office of Employment and Training, are all the information is tracked and reported for state and federal purposes. So on your screen now, you can see a nice little picture showing the foundation of the incumbent worker tracking system is the online templates for preparing your plans and submitting them for approval. And then once you do your plans, you can identify the workers to be trained. Then you submit your quarterly reports, and then all of that information is used for state and federal reporting. So this is really it. This is what you need to know about the incumbent worker tracking system. That is what it is composed of. And so just as I showed you with that picture, the process flow matches up to that hierarchy of information. The first step is to submit your plan. Then you're going to add employees who are participating in training. You're going to register them all in the courses that are being funded, and you're going to do your quarterly reports in the life of the project. So let's look at accessing the incumbent worker tracking system. So there's an online guide that you can access anytime you like, and you do not have to have a password to see it. You're going to go to the new Illinois WorkNet site, and you're going to go all the way down to the footer of the site. At the very bottom of the site, there you will see a footer, and in the footer, you'll see partner resources. You'll see this little picture right here. It says partners, partner resources. Click on it. From there, you'll be in the new partner pathway. If you're new to Illinois WorkNet, take some time and take a look at it. It will lead you to all of the information you need as a partner to use Illinois WorkNet with your day-to-day work. So you're going to find the guide here. So when you get to the guide, what you're going to see is information that you need to use the system. You're going to see the PowerPoint that you can download. You'll see registration for any future webinars about the Incumbent Worker Tracking System or any other events that have to do with that. The steps for using the system, all of the materials that you need, all the information that you need is here. All of your DCO contacts are here, and you can submit FAQs anytime you like and get them answered online as well. So you don't have to log in to get there. You go to New Illinois WorkNet, and anyone can review that information anytime. However, you are going to have to log in to use the tools. I mean, obviously, you're going to have a password, and only people who have been identified as contacts with the grant organization will have access to your plan. So you're going to want to make sure that if you're going to be doing plans for formula grants, or if you've been given a grant for a specific incumbent worker training project from DCO, you're going to identify with your grant organization staff who will have access to the plan. Once you do that, you're going to log in to submit your C plans and submit them, do data entry, see and submit reports. You're going to do that. You're going to go to the new Illinois WorkNet site. You're going to log in at the very top right corner, or you're going to sign up if you don't have an account. Then you're going to see your dashboard. It says My Dashboard, and you're going to click on it. And from there, you're going to see the partner tools. So once you log in and you get to your dashboard, you're going to see a screen sort of like mine here. However, this is partner tools, and we have multiple partner tools. This is not the only tool available. So depending on who you are, you might see multiple things here on the page that are your tools to access, but among them you're going to see Incumbent Worker Tracking System. So you're going to click on it, and then once you do, you're going to be ready to get started. Now, I'm going to show you just a couple more things in the PowerPoint, and then let's go take a look at the system. So when you log in, you may only have one plan, and if you only have one plan, you're going to see it. But some of you may have a lot of plans, and you're going to see all of them. Your entire history of all your plans will always be there. They're not going to go away. And if you do, you're going to have some options for narrowing a search for your plans. And one of those options is by status type. And I want to take a moment to talk about what that means. So every plan has what we call a status. And when I do the demo, you're going to see exactly where you find that status and how you're going to know what the status is. But the important thing is that every project has a status, and it's automatically generated by the plan. It's not something I can just say, oh, I want it to be accepted, and it becomes accepted. It depends on what you've done with the plan, and then it will automatically change the status. And you can see here that there are multiple statuses of a plan. And what you want to do is get to accepted. And what that means is that you've created a plan, you've submitted it to DCO, they've reviewed it, and they've accepted it. And then once it's accepted, you can start entering your employees, putting them in courses, and submitting your quarterly reports. Now, when you download the PowerPoint after this, you're going to see more information that you can read about that, so you can understand, well, who does what? The grantee, you are grantees, grant recipients, or DCO. So you can see who initiates. So for example, if you are a local workforce investment area and you have a formula grant, you can add your own plans anytime you like, as long as you have authorization to access Incumbent Worker Tracking System and you have money in that budget line for Incumbent Worker Training. For non-formula grants, DCO, for example, Gary Eichen, who's on this webinar here, he will initiate a project for you. And what that means is he's put some information in there from your grant that you received from DCEO, but now you're going to complete the plan and it's going to be in process. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. Now that PowerPoint has definitions, so if you want further explanation, I think a lot of them are pretty self-explanatory, but the important ones I wanted you to know about today were initiated, meaning that DCO has initiated a non-formula grant. In process, meaning the grantee is responsible for completing the plan, and if it's in process, you've done something to it and started working on it. Submitted, meaning that you've submitted it to DCO for review, and accepted is where you want to get, you want your plan to be accepted. So I'm going to go ahead and move this PowerPoint out of the way, and you're going to see gray for just a minute. Screen share here. And what I also want to do is, hang on one second, I'm going to turn off my camera. Sorry, I just needed to kind of do that and get it out of the way here. Let me change things up just a little bit more. Give me one moment. I want to leave that chat up for you in case you want to ask questions. So as I'm doing the demo, type in your questions anytime, and we'll answer them either in the chat or DCO will go ahead and talk over the phone and answer your questions. So let me go ahead and go to Illinois WorkNet. I'm doing a screen share, and everyone should see the Illinois WorkNet homepage. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, very, very bottom to the footer. You're used to the partner resources being in the very top, but now they're on the bottom, which doesn't mean anything other than that's just a reorganization of information. We're going to click Partner Resources. When I do, you're going to see a menu for the partner area of WorkNet. Anyone can get to these pages, but they're intended for you partners. From here, you can go to the Incumbent Worker Tracking System. So I'm going to go to that page. This is your online guide. You can come here anytime you like. You can ask questions. The archive video will be put here after today. You can register for future webinars, and you can click Starting and Completing Plans. And you can access the PowerPoint I was showing you. It has a lot more slides with screenshots and all of the other information you need to use the system. Now, if you see some information that you would like to have, and you're like, well, why isn't this here? And you can't find it, let me know, because we could also always give you that information and add it to here or point you in the right direction. Here's all your contacts. So if you have any questions, these are the people you can ask your questions to. So let me go ahead and log in now. That was the guide. Let's take a look at the tools. So I'm logging into my Illinois WorkNet account. And now that I've done that, at the very, very top, you can see I'm logged in. And if I was done, I would need to sign out. And I wanted to point that out because it's very different from old WorkNet, so you need to know this is where you sign out. But what you want to do is go to My Dashboard. So I clicked on My Dashboard, and when I do, I can see where I can update my profile and change my password. I can see what I call our global tools, things like saving bookmarks, or Employment 101 Guide, and all of this is available to you and all of your customers. But here on the left side, you can see Partner Tools. So I'm going to click Partner Tools. Now, depending on who you are, you may see multiple tools here. What you want to look for is Incumbent Worker Tracking System. If you do not see that on your Partner Tools, it means you have not been authorized to access your plan yet, and you need to be added to your plan. Once you are added to a plan as a grantee contact, this will automatically show on your dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and click it. And when you click it, you're going to go to the same page. It's going to be a page that will show only your plans. I get to see all the plans, and there's a lot of plans out there. You will only see your plans. Some of you will have only one plan, and it will show just like this area that I've moved my mouse over and turned to kind of a yellowish color. Some of you may have two or three. If you have a lot more, you will see every one of them. If you have a lot of plans, you'll see options to narrow your search for a plan. If you don't have a lot of plans, you won't see all these filters because you just don't need them, because your plans are right here and you'll be able to go directly to them anytime. They will not go away. Even when they're completed, that information will stay there available to you. What you're going to do is when you want to work on your plan, you click select. And so I have a test plan here that I've set up for this webinar. I'm going to click select. Now when you click select, you're going to go directly to your plan. And all the plans look exactly alike. They all just have different information filled into their templates. All the plans have a title. You want to make sure your plan title is always a very good one, including, for example, the name of the employer whose employees are receiving training and some kind of information that helps people understand what that training is all about. Notice in the top right-hand corner it says accepted, and there's a little lock next to it. This is a status that automatically shows. It will show right here. If it was initiated, it would say initiated. If it was in process, it would say in process. Accepted means that this plan has been accepted, and now I'm done with the plan part of it. I could continually add information like employees, register them in courses, and submit my quarterly reports. And this is where you want to be. Every plan has a menu. It's called the Project Navigator menu. And you can see here that the menu shows all the sections of a plan. All these gray areas are the sections of a plan. And so what it does is break down each page in the plan by clicking next in the same order that you see here. Now when you complete your plan, you're going to use this next button here. And the reason for that is you want to complete it in the order shown, because things will pre-fill further down as you go. Wherever that information is needed. So there is a method to the madness, a reason for this order, and you should follow it. So when you come here, of course, your plan won't already be filled in. You will have blank boxes, and everything that is red, you will be required to complete. So, and you'll see what I call info bubbles, and you can click an info bubble if you don't know what to do. So if you don't want to read all the directions, you can use the info bubbles. Adjacent, you'll see them throughout the plan. On every page has info bubbles. You can click them to open them, click them to close them. Anytime you see red, it means it's required and you need to fill it in. So you can see on here, you're going to fill in some text boxes with things like a description. You're going to be able to see who your DCO contact is. That was pre-filled. It came with the project. You can see the current status. You won't be able to change it. It's automatically updated. You're going to fill in all the information in red as required. There's some other information you could add if it's applicable, such as upgrades. It will automatically show you the amount of the grant. If you have a formula grant, it will automatically do some math for you to show you a balance. So the balance doesn't show on all of them. It will show you if it's relevant to your grant. In particular for formula grants that may have multiple grants out of the same budget line. When you're done on this page, you're going to click Save. You need to make sure you always click Save when you're working on a page that looks like this and has things like text boxes that you fill in. As I go through the plan, you're going to see there's only three scenarios. You're going to save, you're going to select check direct items, or you're going to add. Always save when you see text boxes. When you save, if I make a change to something, which I can't do now because this is accepted, when you save it, you're going to see a green message on the top of your page saying it's successful. If it was unsuccessful, you're going to see a message saying in red, telling you exactly what to correct. I'm going to go ahead and pull up another plan that's not accepted yet as I walk through the rest of the menu. Okay, so we've already talked about the very first screen, which is the project detail. I'm going to click next. On my next screen, I have to identify the at-risk indicator. To do that, all you have to do is click Add. When you click Add, you're prompted to fill in a description. You're required to do that. You type it in and you click Update. If you made a mistake, And you can see you could have multiple at-risk indicators. If you made a mistake, you just click delete and say okay, and now you're done with this screen and you click next. On the next screen, we're going to look at the project industries. If you don't know what the NAICS codes are, you click on the info bubble, you can see the definition, and you can go to the website and learn more about them. You come down to the drop down and you pick the area in which the NAICS is for the project that you're working on. If you're working with multiple employers, you're going to need to select all of the relevant NAICS categories. Then you click search. You will be presented with all of the NAICS codes under that category you selected. You will select all that apply, and then you will click select checked items. If you have multiple employers, you will repeat this for multiple NAICS categories as applicable. If you've made a mistake, click remove. You will see that they're adding them to the top of this page here. When you're done, click next. Now, if I look in the Navigator menu, I can see I'm on Grantee Information. You are the grantees. This is your information. Some grantees could be employers. If you are the grantee who's also the employer, whose employees are receiving the training, then you would indicate yes here. If you're the grantee who's working with employers, you would say no here. And the reason you would say yes if you're the employer is it's going to prompt you to fill in employer information if you are both. So like your screen that had your project detail, you've got boxes to fill in. Red is required. Click info bubbles if you don't know what to do. Red is required. When you're done filling in the fields, click save. When you're done clicking save, you will know your save was successful because you will see a message telling you it was successful. If there was an error and I left something off, like the name, it would tell me to fill in the name. Now notice I have tabs. I must complete the information in my tabs. So I've identified my employer. If you have multiple employers, you will need to add all of your employers. And for each employer, you will add contacts. You must have at least one primary contact with your organization. Sorry, because I'm talking about the grant organization. All the contacts with your grant organization will have access to this plan. So you have to have at least one primary, but you can add other staff members. Any staff members that you add will have complete access to the plan to which they are added. You can have as many as you like, it's up to you. Just make sure you only include people who really need access to the plan. I identified that I was the employer, so I must also identify my work sites, and I'm going to save showing that till a little later in the navigation. I am done with my organization information, so I click next. Now I'm going to identify my hard to serve groups. And if any of these apply, they're required. If you're doing a project where none of these apply, then they're not required. If you don't know what they mean, you click here on the info bubble, and there's a definition defining what each one of these things are. What's an ex-offender? If any of these apply, you simply check it. You click select check records, and it shows. If you made a mistake, click remove, and then click next. Our next thing is we're going to identify all of the project credentials, meaning all of the credentials that anyone who takes the training could earn or are supposed to earn as a result of the training. So you can have more than one. At minimum, you are required to pick a certificate of completion. You pick all that apply and you click select checked items. Click instructions if you don't know what to do, and then when you're done, click next. So let's take a look at the Project Navigator menu. So you can see that we have finished all of this through credentials, and now we're on project sectors. So for project sectors, it's a little different than the NAICS. So the NAICS are the industry codes. Sectors do not exactly match up to the NAICS, and that's why we have them separate. For those of you who know the 16 career clusters, you'll recognize these, and you need to pick the appropriate sector. Click select checked items. It will show. If you made a mistake, click remove, and then click next. Now we're going to identify all of the employee occupations. So the employee occupations are the occupations in which the employees who are receiving the training, their current occupations for which they're receiving the training for. So if it's an upgraded occupation, we're going to talk about that separately. So this is going to identify the occupations of all the employees who are receiving the training. So you're going to pick the organizing category for your occupations. You're going to click search, and you're going to check all of the employee occupations that apply. So you check mark them, you click select checked items, and they show at the top of the page. If you made a mistake, click remove, and then click next. Now, not every project has upgrades. An upgrade is a promotion. So for those who will have an upgrade, you're going to identify all of the occupations to which those upgraded employees will be moving into upon completing the training. And so you would do the same thing. You pull up your occupation codes. If you don't know what they are, by the way, click the info bubble. And then you can click search and repeat the step I just showed you. Add those upgrades, select check records. If you made a mistake, click remove and click next. So we're almost done with our plan. We're all the way here because our plan consists of all the gray areas. Now we're here on employers. And remember earlier I told you that I identified myself as an employer. So I'm already here. Now, if you're not the employer, you would click add new employer, so add new site, and you would fill in all of the required fields that are red. Now notice that some of the information that I already completed in my plan is automatically showing here. And this is why you need to follow the order of the menu. So we're going to have some additional information here on the industry, because some of these plans have multiple employers. Some may have one, some may have several. So you're going to select what applies to the employer and always click save. So you always are going to have a save button on these pages where you're going to be filling in boxes and you see red required things. Always click save. And then you'll see a nice green message telling you you're good to go, or a red error message telling you what's correct. Now here we have our employer contacts. And so you put at least one employer contact for every employer in your project by clicking add new person. All of the red fields are required. And then you click save. And then for your employer, you're going to identify all of the work sites. Some employers may only have one work site. Some employers have multiple work sites. A work site is defined at any locations where the employees who are receiving the training report to on a normal basis. You're going to identify all of the work sites for all of the employers. So some of them are very simple and may only have one, and you may have already provided that because you may have already indicated that the employer is the only work site. But if there's additional work sites, you must fill all the information that is required in red and click save. Now you're done with your employer information and you click next. So the next thing we have to do is identify all of the training courses that are available through this grant. So you can see that's the last part of completing our plan before we can review it and submit it. Now I want to pause here for just a minute to say that I could have reviewed my plan anywhere after working on the first screen. I could click review plan and take a look at it. It would show me a lot of errors and say I can't submit it yet because my plan's not done yet. But you can click review plan at any time and take a look at what the plan looks like. Because what the review plan does is it pulls the entire plan together into one document. And I'll show you that after we finish our training courses. So for the training courses, you're going to notice this looks a little bit different than the other screens, because the other screens had tabs where you had your boxes. So you've noticed anytime you have your red required fields with your boxes that you have to fill in, there were tabs except for the courses. So with the courses, there's 4 parts of information that you need. The first part is what we call the course details, and it's what you see here on your screen. It's a title, it's a provider name, and a course description. But then you're going to be prompted to fill in some other things. So it's going to say, okay, thanks for filling the course details in, now go to credentials. So you're going to click on the credentials, and remember you've already added them. And I only identified a certificate of completion, but I could have had 2 or 3 credentials, and I may have several courses. So I have to apply the credential to the correct course. So this is where I do that. And then I save it, and then I click course SIP details, and that should be a capital IP, and we will correct that. SIP is the classification of instructional program. And if you don't know what it is, from the course SIP details link here, there's a little info bubble with a definition and a link to the SIP site so you can learn more about it. But if you're working with a provider, they should know what their SIP code is, and I recommend that you get it from them so you don't have to try to figure it out yourself if the provider already has that information for you. But you will need to add it, and so to add it, you begin with the SIP family. So a lot like the occupation codes and the industry codes, you will go to the correct family and click search. When you do, you're presented with all of the options in that area, and you click the correct option, and you click select checked items, and if you made a mistake, then you click remove, and then you're done with that screen. And you go to the last screen, which is the course sessions. Some courses have 1 session, some courses have a lot of sessions. For example, some courses may go based on a community college or university schedule, semester, quarter, for example. Or you just might have it set up in sessions because only certain workers can go to certain sessions because they have to take a prior course, for example. So you're going to have to identify at least 1 session, and a session is going to have a start date and an end date, a title, and other required information always in red, including instructor information and a location, and then you're going to click save. If this course has multiple sessions, I could click clone session, and then what that does is literally clone what I put here so I can do minimal retyping. So let's say the next session is really just a date change. I can just come in and change the dates and maybe change the instructor or just change the dates. So you do have an option here to reduce typing. So if there's 4 sessions for the same course, you can clone them and change whatever information to minimize your typing. So let's go back to the Navigator menu. So we've gone through all of the sections of a plan. And so you could see each section was just kind of minimizing that information to focus only on it. It was completing it and then clicking next. If there were red boxes, such as this right here, there's always a save button. Otherwise, you would do select checked items or add and continue on to the next screen. When you're done with your plan, you click review plan. Now, when you click review plan, your screen will look like this, and you're just basically going to click on review. And what's happening is taking all of my information and generating a report. And it's telling me if everything is complete in a nice happy green message at the top. If you don't see this message, it means it's not complete. And you can scroll down your plan, and if there were errors in each section where there was an error, it would tell you exactly what that error is so you could go back and correct it. But you can see my plan didn't have any errors, and I could print it if I want. And I could also, when I print it, save it to a PDF file. So let's say I want to go green and I don't want to print it on my printer, but I want to have a digital file to share with other staff, with the employers. I could do that. So I printed this to a PDF, and you can see how it takes all of the information in the plan and puts it all together in a readable, easy to read format, and every little single bit of information that you put in that plan is here. All of it is here. So I'm going to move that out of the way, and I'm going to come back up to my Navigator menu. So we created a plan and we reviewed the plan, And now that my plan is complete, I can submit it to DCO. So once I submit it, it's automatically going to email my contact with DCO that was identified in that plan. It's going to send you, your primary contact, with your grant organization an email as well. And it's going to record that it's been submitted in your project history and actions. I'm going to click on it. You can click on project history and actions anytime you like. It's your plan timeline. It will tell you when it's been submitted, if in this case it was denied, if it was resent, and you can click for details to see any messages that were sent along with it. You can use it to communicate with DCO. So instead of sending a separate email through your email, normal Outlook or whatever email you use, you can send an email with a note, and you would see send email to DCEO, and you could type it in and you could click it. It will go to the DCO contact and it's going to show in your history. So to keep things with your project, any information you want to keep there for you, for others who may be helping you with it that you gave access to, or DCO, you can see the entire history here. So that was from the Project Navigator menu. It's always available from your plan. You could always return to any of these pages and look at them. You can review your plan at any time. Once you've submitted it, it's submitted, it's accepted, the status will change, and you're going to have to use your project history and actions if you want to change it and make a request to change it. So now that we have completed a plan, we're going to move on to our next step, but let me see if anyone has any questions. I don't see anything in the chat, so that's a good sign, I guess. So if you don't have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and continue on to the next section. Now that we've had our plan accepted, we're going to add employees. I'm going to switch plans here to one that's been accepted. And I'm going to click on Add Employees. Now, ideally, you would add employees all at one time and be done with it. You're going to have some plans that you just can't do that. You can come back and add employees later. And that's perfectly fine. But you are going to have to add all of the employees who are to receive the training through this grant. And when you do, you're going to have two ways of adding those employees. And you're going to actually, as you can see, have to attach those employees to the proper employer. If you only had one employer in your plan, you're only going to see that one. But if you have a plan with more than one employer, you're going to see all of them, and you're going to attach the workers to the correct employer. So what you're going to do is you have a choice to add the new employees or the employees one by one, or you can bulk upload them by using an Excel spreadsheet. And we do provide a sample that you could use and just fill in the columns and step-by-step directions on how to do that. But basically, you're going to put information in rows and columns in Excel, and you're going to click to upload it, and it's going to tell you if your upload was successful or not. But we're going to show you how to add a new employee. So if you're going to type them in one by one for a smaller project, this is where you would do that. And this will tell you what is required in the spreadsheet upload as well. Because as you already know, red is required. Info bubbles are clickable. If it's required, you have to fill it in. So you're going to fill in all the information for your workers who are receiving the training. You can see it's pre-filled with the employee occupations that you had selected for your plan. If you get here and you're like, oh, wait a minute, my occupation is missing, it's because you did not put it in the plan. So you can go back to your plan and add an additional occupation if necessary. If it's an upgraded occupation, remember we talked about that too, you would need to identify any occupation upgrades. And remember, you already added that to your plan. So if it's not here, it's because it's not in your plan. So you'll need to go back to your plan and update it. So then you can just click Add New Person and repeat that for manual data entry. But I wanted to show you this screen because it shows you what is required. So the same information is required in an upload, except when you do an upload, It will be the personal information that you'll upload, and then you will, after uploading them, be prompted to attach the occupations to each person that you've already entered into the system. Okay, so that's how you add employees. And you have to have your employees added to put them in courses, so you can't have one without the other. Once you have your employees in, or as you're putting your employees in, and remember you've already added your courses and you've already added your sessions. So what you would do is go to your courses and you would identify all of the employees who are in that course to put them into the course and the session. Because remember, you might also have multiple sessions. And then you click select check items, and now your employees are attached to the appropriate courses and sessions. So if you have a simple project, as you can tell, it's pretty easy to do. If you have many employers, you may want to not do them all in one plan. You might want to do separate plans for them, because you're going to have to put all of your employees with each course. You don't have to do them all at one time. It would be ideal to just get them all done. If you can't, you can return to these areas anytime and add employees and add course registration, but you're going to need both of those informations to submit your report, your quarterly report. So ahead of submitting your report, you need to have information in here. So we did a plan, we added employees, and we registered them in the course. Now at any time, I do have some reports available to me or to you as a grant organization. This is specific to your plan. So these are all reports that you could look at and see on the screen or export to Excel. So you could pull these anytime. If you have not entered any employees, then obviously you're going to get a blank report. But as you're working with this, if you see a report that you would like to have for your plan that does not exist, if you let us know, we can add additional reports. Everyone sees the same reports, but you only see reports that are related to your plan. So you can access at any time. So as you have progressed with your project, you will be completing quarterly reports. Quarterly reports will be submitted throughout the life of the project until the project ends. And they're automatically going to generate. So on your project plan menu that we were just looking at, you're always going to see your most current quarterly report there available to you, and you can look at it. You can even add things to it. You just won't be able to submit it until it's due. The system will email the primary contact and let them know when their report is due. Now, your quarterly report consists of 3 tabs that you maintain. It's a status report, and that is a lot of text here. And I want to point something out. It says, is this the final report, yes or no? When it is the final report, you do need to hit yes. If you do not hit yes and it's the final report, you will be prompted to do another report at the end of the next corner. So make sure that if it's a final report, you click yes. Now you're going to put some narrative in here that's required. We know that because it's red. If you don't know what to do, click the info bubble and click save. And then in your next tab, it is going to give you pre-fill with all the information you've already provided. So it is a worker training status, and what we care about is the status of them completing their training. So it's going to pre-populate all of those course registrations you did right here, and you can see the names of the courses and the number of people that are in there. So if you come here and you're like, wait a minute, I know so-and-so is in this course, you need to go back to your plan and register them in that course so it will show here on your quarterly report. So what you're going to do is make any updates to the training status. And remember, when you did your plan, you identified what credentials they would receive. So by updating your training status, you're going to indicate if they're not started, if they're in progress, if they've completed, or if they did not complete the requirements. So this is where you're going to update all of that. So let's go ahead and update one. And you're going to update the workers. And I'm done with that. And then I'm going to click my workers training outcomes. Now, the training outcomes are for people who have completed the training. So they are not going to show here until in this training status tab, you said they were done. Once you say they've completed training successfully, they will show here, and we must find out what their outcome was. They should all have retained employment, but they could also have received a wage increase or a promotion, so you select all that apply. And remember, I just said that this person completed, so now they showed here. The quarterly reports are always bringing forward the prior quarter. It's not going to be like a blank page. You're always going to see all your prior information. As you can tell, it's cumulative. Then you're going to update your workers, and then you're going to review and submit. So when it's time to submit, you'll get a notification that your quarterly report is due. You'll make sure your 3 tabs are complete. You'll click review and submit. On the review screen, you'll say, oh, that's a lot like the plan. It compiled all of my information that I put in my report onto one page. And if there are errors, it will tell me. Otherwise, I can click submit. If I click submit, then you're going to get a message saying you're good to go. Your report is submitted. Your DCO contact will automatically be notified. And in your plan, your little Navigator menu will update to show your next quarterly report is now available. So I have gone through all of the plan parts, reviewing the plan, submitting the plan, adding our employees, putting them in courses, the reports that are available to each of you from your plan, how you can go see your current quarterly report at any time, and how you can use your project action and histories. Now, when a report is due, the primary contact will receive an email with an auto login link that will go directly to the report that is due. So this is all of the components of the incumbent worker. Back to the webinar and go to my closing. And I'm going to take a look and see if there are any questions that we need to answer here. And I see a question that I'll go ahead and answer, and then everyone else can just go ahead now and please answer the polling questions in the middle of the screen. These are different questions. These are not the same questions that I had earlier, so go ahead and please click on your answers to the questions. And let's see, if information on employee changes, address, email, other, can it be updated? So the employee information can be updated. Address was not required of the employee. The employee information was mainly demographic information required for reporting and their occupation. As you saw in the system, you could go back to your plan and you could update employees as well. So the answer is yes, you can update employee information, but some of the stuff that you listed here is not required of employees, but required of employers. So yes, you could update employer information as well. If your plan was accepted, some things will be locked down. Remember, I showed you it says accepted and it has a little lock next to it, but you'll know what's locked down because guess what? When you go to click it, nothing will happen. So if you're trying to change something in an accepted plan and it won't change, you would go to your action and history and you would click on the option to resubmit your plan, put a note in for DCO to let them know why you want to change something. They'll receive that and give you approval or not to change your plan. So if there aren't any other questions at this time, I would invite DCO to, if they have anything else that they would like to say, go ahead and say it. Otherwise, I would like to thank everyone for joining me for DCO with the webinar this afternoon. We truly appreciate your time. You will be receiving a follow-up email. It will have a link to the guide. Remember, you can go to the guide now. There's nothing to prevent that. But we will have archived the webinar and have it there as well. If you have any questions, please look for the contacts in the guide. And we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeannie.